Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Today it is the Zoom workshop of Colour My World, and this show launched last month, but it was absolutely fabulous. I loved doing this show. We got to introduce so many new colours from Cadence. We had a beautiful new set of rice papers. We actually had 2 USBs on the show. Of course, we had all of the colourway backgrounds of repeat pattern, and we had the rice paper designs as well. But of course, I said I wanted to do something in the Zoom workshop that meant that we could tailor more onto the technique and of course maybe the rice paper application and ways that we could actually make a full round gift set. Now, of course, Mother's Day is literally just around the corner. So I thought, what would be a great way to actually make a full Mother's Day project? But of course, the way that I'm going to stylize and actually build this project, I'm going to do in a way which means you could tailor it to, you could do Father's Day, or you could just do a gift for somebody, or this could be a little set that you make and keep within your home. So I thought, let's combine some of the techniques and projects together to make an all-inclusive set that will work really well in utilising just one of the designs from this USB. To show you just how versatile it can be is the fact that we do have those 50 sort of versatile platforms, but we're going to make just one of them spread across an entire collection. Now, I've got a small little wooden caddy here. I think I got this from one of those home, like the bargain stores, and it was literally a couple of pounds. I've got a candle which I have previously used, so this is a loved candle. Of course, this could be one from within your home, or they're literally like 30-40 pence for a little pillar candle like this, and you can get them in multiple sets and do lovely gifts with them. So I wanted to use stuff that was, you can find around your home with the USB that you've already got, and then of course with some additional bits and bobs that you can play with. I'm also going to be dipping into the paints, and I'll show you mine in just a second. I've also got a plant pot which I've painted white to get me going. You can see it was like a really deep dark colour before, so I used the Cadence with this one. I used my strips of paints to paint my plant pot with. Then I'm also going to do a really cute little tag as well, a little wall hanging plaque. So I thought we're going to combine within this Zoom, which is something I've not done before, is do all of these 4 projects together within the hour, which I thought would be great to show you just how quick and easy it can be to actually get a full collection done. And this could be, something that you prep for next year if you're going to do little hampers of these to sell. Maybe you do craft fairs, or you just want to, gift them to people. It's entirely up to you, but I think this is a great way to go. And we're seeing a lot of trends at the moment where people are making little gift set and votives, and they're so inexpensive to make. And of course, this has literally cost me probably less than £3 to make and get all of this, whereas a lot of this, you may have something like this rattling around in the loft or the shed, in which a lot of us do. So I would always look out for stuff like that and always check the recycling bin. That's what I do. Before it all goes to the bin, I pull out all those jam jars and all those bits and bobs and use them for projects like this. So I'm going to get started by taking you through to Minecraft Studio to begin with. But actually, I'm going to show you here are all my paints. So all those wonderful paints that we had on that show, you can see here I've labelled all of my parts. So if you go to the Highlight Crafts website, you'll be able to get your little sticker printouts, and you can either pop them in your scan and cut or use your dies to cut these out, and that gives you all of the labelling, and it also gives you all of the coding for the colours as well. So when you're thinking about maybe it would be royal blue, for example, it could be code 304, you could then go to the website, find the paint, and you could then maybe top up on one of the larger bottles if that was your favourite colour. So this is almost great as a taster set, but at the same time one that's the great hobbyist kit as well, because it gives you a choice of everything, which we've never been able to share. So again, something brilliant in that. But of course, in the Zoom workshops, it's nice to have a more informal, relaxed environment where it's not so much a show at Create and Craft, but it's also an opportunity for me to just sit and share, and also we can all share our own inspiration. So I'm going to take you through to Minecraft Studio first, and I'm going to show you some of the actual imagery we're going to play with. So on the graphics program, I'm going to go straight into the USB, which is My World. Now, of course, on the show, which you may have purchased this USB from, there was a pop of colour, and there was Colour My World. So I'm going to go straight into the artwork here, and what I always do, and this is exactly what I did over the weekend whilst I was thinking what sort of project, because I did have something different in mind to do for this, but then I thought it'd be really appropriate to, make it current for the time of year as well as what's going on within the next couple of weeks or so. And I looked at these papers and I instantly saw some trends in here. I see this as very much a home decor collection where you've got your marbling, great for coasters, that sort of thing. But as well, I look at this one and then I instantly just thought Mother's Day, and instantly was drawn to this image here, which is file number 12. So if I just select all of these and delete, and as well, through the workshop, I'm going to cover some more of the techniques that we do in the shows, but I only ever briefly get the chance to skim over because, of course, we only have so much time and there's lots of other things to do on the shows as well. So sometimes those techniques can almost look or feel like an afterthought, whereas they're going to be the forefront of the video and be the priority. So when we're going into this one, we've got file number 12. And so I'm going to tailor this to gift it to my mum. And she absolutely loves florals. She loves this sort of look and feel, but purple isn't her favourite colour. She very much likes the pink. She has a lot of roses in the garden, lots of pink peonies. She has a very much cottage style garden, and I instantly saw this and thought that would be great, but the colourways are probably not quite what her taste would be. I'm sure she'd love it, but I thought it will style well with her other interiors if we can manipulate it. So I went into the effects here, so we've selected our file, and in our effects we have a multiple choice to work with. Now of course, because I'm using Minecraft Studio, this is a little bit of a hybrid Zoom workshop if you like, because we are utilising the bones of mixed media, but also the innards, if you like, of the graphics program to complement the two together. So what I'm doing is going into here and looking at the rainbow slider, and you can see is taking it through here gives us these different colourways, and instantly, that was it, it clicked for me. I saw that one and thought, because we've used the rainbow function, it's changed the hues of the purple, but it's allowed the green to still remain as the prominent realistic colour, because if we were to go to the hue up here and change this one, the whole image changes colour at the same time, which of course can be a design choice. It might be something you want to do, but for this particular project, I mean, that is gorgeous, but it's not really going to work for what I want to do. And I think we are going to dabble in a few other papers throughout this project, but to start off with, this rainbow one here is where we're going to go. So I'm going to take the hue straight back down to where we first started, and I'm going to rainbow it, let's have a look, and bring it from up to around about here, I think, because we've got almost a nod to the purples, which are the original colour in here. But again, we have those pinks and peaches that are coming through, but that green now is more of a eucalyptus tone. So again, it has that really nice contemporary twist to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually enlarge the image, and this particular floral here, which you can see just that adorns the corner of this clock, I want to snip that out. And a lot of the time during the show, I'll show you that we can just put a digital punch around it, or we could crop it to make it quite quick. But to use the scissors, this is a brilliant tool. And you can see it fades and almost gives a glaze over the entire image. But to be able to actually pick this out, it does that on purpose so you can see where your line is. So if I just click here with of course, the left cursor on my mouse, this of course would be on your pad on your laptop if you were using it on there. And then before you click again, it almost feels like a giant line that you can wave around. But if you anchor that again and click one more time, you can see the dotted line starts to form, and you can go around the entire image. And we're literally snipping this out with our scissors. So what I'm going to do is go right around this image. Now, if you're watching this Zoom class back, if you weren't able to join us live today, if maybe you're watching this as a record, this may be a good time if you want to speed it up, but it will only take around about 30 seconds to do anyway. But you can see here what I'm doing is I'm not being too precious with the areas that I snip directly, but this could be a great way to save ink on your printing. But again, make your then backing papers or additional rice paper designs from an element which was already on a paper, which sounds a little bit, you know, a jumbled up amount of words, but when you break it down as to what you can actually achieve with a process like this, it means you've got even more. It takes those 50 papers from that USB to hundreds and thousands, because it really has no limits to the possibilities of how many you can create. So I'm literally going around the floral with that scissor tool here, and you can see actually what it does is some of these lines I'm creating are quite straight, but as it matches up, it kind of arches them, so it can sort of see whereabouts you're taking it, and it will cushion and soften those edges for you so they're not too abrupt. In fact, I'm going to take that one in, actually nip it in here, around the floral, and then I'm sort of going to go loosely around this section here of the foliage. So you can see I'm just moving the mouse, anchoring the cursor, and then positioning it just to actually capture some of that greenery down here. I'm not going to be too concerned if I don't capture all of that. And then I'm just going to loop it around, almost making my own way back, not following the lines, and then it highlights the whole image. So if I was to zoom out now completely, and choose to either keep the inner or the outer, it will crop it from the image, which would be really nice, because then you could probably put a photograph on here with a floral aperture. But then what I'm going to do is keep the inner. So now what we've got is that beautiful section of floral, which we never had before on its own because it was still in that page. And then, of course, think about what you could do with this. So you could then make your own paper with it. So you could select the tile function that sits within the top bar of Minecraft Studio, and drag that out to make a complete repeat set of patterns, which is then quintessentially a decoupage sheet, which is brilliant. So I'm going to undo that function, take the tile function away, and I'm actually going to enlarge a few of them. So I'm going to copy, let's have a look, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to bring a few of these around and actually make them different sizes. So I've not actually used the tile function for this because I wanted a variation. I wanted some small, some large, and as well, this means if you wanted to, if you were doing a project where you wanted a point of difference, you could take one of them and then go back into your effects and use that rainbow colour slider and then change the colours of a couple. I mean, that colourway is gorgeous, like, especially for autumnal. In fact, actually, I really like that colour. Again, you could take one of these and then use the hues to change it all the same colour at the same time if you wanted, again, that difference. So you can see how many results we're getting from one paper then going into one background. So I'm just going to undo all of that, make them back to how they were. And then what I did was, if I just take you over to my craft desk here in front of me, I've printed this design out and then I actually snipped into it with my scissors. Now you could, if you wanted to, if you wasn't a big fan of cutting with your scissors, you can go around it with a water brush and tear it away. But if I just show you this here was the decoupage sheet, and then I've actually snipped into these florals, just using my snips to get a fine line. And because, of course, when we went round with those digital scissors, I said it doesn't matter about how detailed or intricate or fine that line is. That's because I then cut it out by hand. But if you wanted to, you see this image here, I could let me just grab my water brush. I'm just going to get a little bit of water from my pot here. And I'm going to go probably around about 1 centimetre width from the edge. And I'm just going to take that water just around the edge of the rice paper here. And I have printed this onto rice paper. I don't know if I actually even mentioned that. I printed this onto the black Pure Print Craftmaster rice paper here. And I'm just circling around that image. And this is one of those really therapeutic processes which it never ages for me. It's something that I will always love. And then it just tears away beautifully. And then again, you have the perfect frayed edge, which means when you're applying it to a surface, it all just blends seamlessly into the background. Now we're going to start to build up our projects, but firstly I'm going to take you then through to the next process. So I'm going to build up some of the digital elements of this, if you like, and then we're going to then take it into the building side of it, really, using all of our mediums and glues. I'm going to pop this to one side for the moment. I'm just going to let this dry out. And also, if you ever are tearing with a water brush around your imagery, if you're creating something like this, I would always let it dry first. It only takes about 5 minutes to dry. It just means that when you're adding adhesives or mediums, that water's not going to mix with the compound you're applying. So just a little tip in there as well. Sometimes I don't always get time to dry them during the show, but it is best to always do that if you have the time. So I'm going to take you back into Minecraft Studio now. And this particular page that we started with, I'm going to utilize it again, but in a completely different way. So if I just go to New, I'm still keeping up that page on Minecraft Studio. I'm going to go into our second page here. I'm going to take the grid, and what I'm going to do is actually select that paper once again here, and we're going to rainbow it so it came to that hue again that we really liked. Let's have a look. Go into our rainbow section. Our image is highlighted, and sometimes I have some people asking me, going, oh, when I go into my rainbow here or any of my functions, the image isn't changing, and they think they're doing something wrong, and you're not. Basically, you just need to make sure your image is always selected. It's an error. I mean, I do it sometimes, and I think, why is that one not changed? You have to make sure the image is definitely selected, or the one you're wanting to use is selected. So I'm going to go into rainbow here, and then hue it straight to, there we go, perfect. I'm going to utilize this section here down in the bottom. So if we just zoom out from this, here we go. I'm going to zoom out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop the image. So in fact, I'm going to zoom out slightly further so I can see all of that imagery. There we go. I'm going to use all of the icons around the edge to gauge where I'm going to crop this down. Bring it into here. There we go. Crop it a little bit further in and a bit further down. So if I just OK this and enlarge it so it makes it far more visible on the screen, look at that beautiful image. Again, you could tile something like this if you wanted to, make your own repeat. They could be a set of coasters, which I think would look fabulous. But what I'm going to do is enlarge this And this is where you can really take Minecraft Studio and rice paper design and make it your own, because I'm going to tailor this to the size of the project I'm going to work onto. Now I can instantly see down here at the bottom of my screen, I actually have the measurements which say 15 by 13 centimeters roughly. And the little heart plaque that I want to work on is just slightly shy of that. So I know that when I print this off, it's going to cover it perfectly. And then what I'm going to do is I want to pick out a colour from this design. So if I slide it to the side ever so slightly, and we go into our brushes, I'm going to go into the picker here and actually pick out one of the colours. I'm going to go for this really sort of deep tone in here, which I really like. And you can see instantly what that's done is it's given us the colourway that complements this paper. So we're making a tone on backing colourway straight away. Now what I'm going to do is, because this is the colour of our mat now, I'm going to save it. So I'm going to save that on my PC, and I've popped a USB in here, which will probably come up called USB drive F. There we go. I'm going to save it as a JPEG, best quality. I'm going to save it as Purple 2, okay, because I've made one previously on this USB, which is purple background there. So Purple 2 is the one we're going to use. So I'm saving this onto an additional USB. It could be saved onto your computer, on your files. It really is entirely up to you. This is just my preferred way to do it because it means I can take it away with me. So I've saved that, and then I'm going to clear this away. So we've got rid of that background. And if we go into our files, and we go back into, let's have a look, that USB drive, it is there. So now we can use it as a file. It moves around for us and we can crop into it. So I'm just going to scale it down, and using our digital punch, I'm going to take my basic shape, which is a circle, and just crop instantly straight out of here to keep the inner. So now we have a purple disc. I'm going to copy and paste this, so now we have 2 of the purple discs. So instantly, just to backtrack, we've taken the colour from the flower, we made it into our background, we saved the background as a file, we've then loaded up the background from our USB, and then we're utilising it as a file, which is just, again, takes it into a different, you know, sort of adventure, a different chapter of the journey with Minecraft Studio. So I'm going to take the brightness on one of these right up. So this one here is selected at the moment, and using the brightness tool, I'm going to bleach it out and make it white and take it down, and then I'm going to sit it over the top of this one. So now I've got a little matte layer here. There we go. So then I'm just going to centralize that in the middle, and then I'm going to drag over the 2 of these. So I'm using my left cursor, just dragging over the top. Here we go, and I'm going to group it together. And then to add some text into here, let's have a go. We're going to add text, and over the top of here, I'm going to put, of course, let's put Happy Mother's Day. So, Happy Mother. What I'm going to do is afterwards is centralize this text. So, Happy Mother's Day. There we go, and then we'll put some kisses on the bottom. And then we're actually going to highlight it together. And using this function up here, we can centralize our text. So now it sits within its center. It's working its way out. It looks nice and tailored to the design. And then what we're going to do is move that to the center. You can see instantly the text then became quite bold. So I'm going to take the boldness of the border right down. There we go, so it's not as thick in border. And then what I'm going to do, if I just enlarge this, you'll be able to see that we can change the colour of our text, which is fabulous because it will then match the colour of the project. So what I'm going to do is grab this, here we go, and then with our brushes, I'm going to grab the picker, and then there we go. And I've picked out the colour in the background, which now makes the text the same colour as our background, which is just an absolute game changer because now everything works together. So I'm going to highlight the 2 of these, I'm going to group it together, bring back in our background, and then just scale it down ever so slightly so it sits in the centre. There we go. Now that there is ready to be saved and printed, which is exactly what I've done here. So if I take you back over to my desk and share with you what I've done, as I've printed this out. So we've got our Happy Mother's Day on our background, and you can see instantly how this is coming together. Now I wanted to introduce you to a product you may have not seen before. I'm just going to put my keyboard out of the way so I don't cover it in glue and adhesives because I'm working on digital and my craft desk. So what I'm going to do is actually work into this design and of course have a cup of tea along the way. So I'm looking at the heart shape here, and I mentioned that I made this design slightly bigger so it would sit in the centre like that. So what I'm going to do is actually get the heart and introduce you to that new product, which is the Cadence napkin glue. Now, I launched this with you on Create and Craft. Was it on, let me think, what day was it now? It was last week. I think it was Tuesday. I shared this with you. And this is a formulation of glue which makes any of the surfaces you apply it onto wipeable, washable. You know, you actually use these as functional items, so they're going to be everlasting. It is on the Highlight Crafts website, so you can go straight over to there. I know we had only a limited supply left, so if you're interested in that, I would definitely go over there and get it because it is fabulous. It comes in a 120ml bottle. And you can instantly see the difference between the decoupage glue I've shared with you previously to the napkin glue. It's much more of a heavy body, and that's because of the compounds within this product will allow us to have the benefits from that washable quality. So you can see it's not spilling or pouring all over the page, but I have placed it in the center of the heart because I want to distribute the product outwards. Okay, so I'm working from the center out. And I'm doing it on my plastic mat here because it is washable, so it will clean off nicely with a wet wipe, or of course on your craft desk you can mop it down, whatever you prefer to do. So I'm going straight over here, and I painted, let me grab my paints here, I actually painted the heart with the white shade of paint. Now I've got it here, it was right in front of me whilst I'm rummaging. And I use this one here, the white shade that comes in the fuchsia set. And I thought this was a great example to show how all of this tones together, because I went to my paints and my paper and thought with this collection, we can tone every project to work as one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that's spread over here evenly. You don't need a great amount, but what's left inside the brush there, we're going to just hang on to that. So I'm just going to set it here to the side of my project. Now I'm going to take over the rice paper and bring that into the picture and centralize that circle with the heart. Here we go. So I can see the peaks of the heart are just here. And then I'm going to centralize it the best I can do, which is fairly easy because rice paper has that beautiful feature of being slightly translucent. So we can see here, I've then matched that up with the center. Then with the product that was remaining on this brush, I'm going straight over the top like this. Okay, so right around the edges of this. And of course, when you're actually removing the excess paper from here, a lot of people like to do it whilst the paper's wet, and some like to do it while it's still, whilst it's dry, after you've glued it down. I tend to do both. It really depends on the project that I'm designing. But what I'm going to do is give it a quick heat blast just to speed up that process. This napkin glue has a slightly longer drying time than some of the glues I've shared with you before. It is around about 20 minutes to half an hour, but with this, it'll make it a couple of seconds. So I'm going around the edges first, where I'm going to be tearing away. They're the more sort of imperative areas that I want to give a blast of heat to. So right into the little nook and cranny of the crescent of the heart there. And then I'm just working around, making sure not to put my hand in front of the heat gun, of course, because it's very, very hot. And I can see instantly it's starting to dry because it's no longer tacky, it's becoming matte. And that's a great feature of this glue, it dries completely matte. So you won't see any sort of shimmer or reflection or a gloss, which is optional. You could then put that feature back in with maybe the Aquastone varnish or another product of choice. And then I've got actually a selection of sanding blocks because I've got a few that are on the way out at the moment. This one's seen better days, but it was my favourite one, which sounds daft, but I had a favourite sanding block. I'm just going to trim some of the excess of this paper away first with my scissors, just to make it a little bit easier. There we go. And again, areas of this design you could still use and tear up as little decoupage layers for projects. But look at how the colour is just bounced from the surface already, just by using that white behind it here. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see in the peak of the heart there, I'm going to snip right down into the centre. And to ensure that I've got into the middle there, I have got my little craft knife here. I'm just going to slice right down into the middle, there we go. Now you can use a nail file for this. I'll make sure I put my lid on instead of into my finger. I've got a few nail files that you could use for this process, or the sanding block, but we're going to start here and always sand away from yourself. There we are, that's my favourite one. And sand away from yourself. Some people absolutely hate this noise, and to be honest, I really like it. I find it therapeutic, but some people find it a little bit like nails down a chalkboard, but for me, I love it. So you can see there, it's just coming away from the wooden heart here. Now this could be plastic, metal, or anything at all. And then as I get into these more finer details, I've got the nail file to get really close in there. So there we go. I'm just going to take that away and then brush this down and then go into the other side here. So it just makes the whole process so easy and stress-free. So you can see that how cute is that little Mother's Day plaque. Really sweet. We used our paint, we've used our napkin glue. That is now dry, and once this is dry, this could then go in the home forever because it's something you can dust, wipe down. If it was on a glass, you could then wipe it or wash it clean. If it was a decorative or an ornamental, it's entirely up to you. But I'm just going to clear the decks and get ready for our next process of the project. Now, we started off by designing our beautiful decoupage sheet flowers, but I'm just going to take you back into Minecraft Studio because I want to show you how we can then make a tailored decoupage sheet for actual glassware. Now, the candle that I've got here, I think I have a little strip of paper somewhere. If not, I can do another one. No, I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a process in which you can actually tailor your design of rice paper to fit the size without having to sort of waste any of your ink as well as your paper. So what I'm going to do is I've got some washi tape here. I'm going to trim the edge off so it's nice and crisp, and then I'm going to go around the edge of my candle. So round the top, and because our candle of course is wax, this tape is still then usable afterwards because it's only going to give it almost like the non-stick coating on the inside. I'm going to meet the other end, okay, and trim off, here we go, let's have a look, trim off exactly where they met. So then I'm just going to take this tape away, like that, grab my ruler, which, let's have a look, oh no, I think I forgot my ruler. It doesn't matter, let me have a look in my craft desk. You know there's millions of things in here, there's tons and tons of stuff, other than, found it. There we go. I thought for a second then, where on earth have I put that? It hid down the side of my craft bag. So we're going to take our ruler, and then with the tape that we just measured around that candle, because of course I can't bend my ruler around here, the tape, if I just measure the length of the tape, I can see that it comes to 20.5 centimetres, and then of course the height of the candle I can just measure as 13.5. So I'm then just going to pop this tape back on my roll of tape because like I like to save everything. So that's still usable, whether I'm using it for the same sort of project or for my dies. There we go. So what I'm going to do is take you back into Minecraft Studio and show you how we can make a project that's fit to scale with a 20.5 centimetre and a 13.5 centimetre. Of course, you could measure them in inches or whatever increments you prefer. But if I go straight into Minecraft Studio and share with you, I'm going to go straight into our files here, and into our files we're going to go back into Colour My World. At the moment we still have our previous project on the page, which is fine, but we're going to go into our artwork, and there was a paper in here that was very much a sepia tone, but had beautiful butterflies in it, and I thought those are the butterflies I want for this project, but they're not the right colour, which is file number 42. So if I just select a new page, and I take the grid and the ruler off and use file number 42, look at that, those butterflies are incredible. So what I'm going to do is crop around this one here, and I've zoomed right in to show you how close and how much detail you can get in here, okay? So using the scissors, I'm going to start to crop in from the centre here and then work my way around. Now I find it really interesting that I am left-handed. I don't know if this makes a difference, but I always use a mouse with my right hand. Does anybody else do that? I've literally just realised it now, because I thought to myself, if I was actually cutting this out with paper or with a scalpel, I would definitely be using my left hand to do it. But I find I get far more control with my right hand when I'm using a mouse. I don't know if that's because everyone in my family was right-handed, and I kind of just picked up right-handed mannerisms, like with the knife and fork, and the way I do my ironing, really random, mundane, boring house day-to-day things, I do right-handed. And in school, my teacher always used to give me a pair of right-handed scissors and want me to use them. But I don't know if a lot of people can relate to that, but yep, I'm a lefty. So I'm going around here with that scissor tool, just going all around, and you can see how much detail I'm capturing. And enlarging the image makes it much easier. If you were to keep this scaled down really minute and small, it can make it quite tricky. And of course, we don't want to do that. We want to make it easy for ourselves. So zooming in as big as you can do. Even if you're using this on a really small tablet, or you've got a really small, my laptop's really dinky and tiny, so I always zoom right in for these particular steps. And then I'm just going to bring that back round. We can do a larger cut strokes here to bring it to the centre, around the butterfly's head. There we go. And then I'm going to zoom right out with my zoom tool, of course. And then I'm going to keep the inner. So now we're left with our butterfly. Now you might be thinking, well, that's great, but how do we make this tailored to that size of the candle? Now if we go into print up here, we have portrait and landscape. Now I'm going to change my entire project now to landscape, and the reason for that is if we're going to work in terms of a wrap for the candle to wrap around, we want to make it so that it's going to be, utilising the most surface area. So I'm going to zoom in again so we can see what's happening. I'm going to grab any paper, absolutely any single one. It doesn't matter which it is, but I'm going to rotate that as well so it is also landscape. There we go. And I'm going to set it to the back. So right clicking on that particular file and send it to the back, and then I'm going to take the brightness of it right down so it's black. Okay, so it's literally just a black rectangle. So what I'm going to do is then go to my measurements here. So I can see the width, of course, is 29.7, which is A4. And we said we wanted it to be 20.5. So 20.5 is, now I know that that width here, that length there, is the complete overall wraparound circumference of that candle. Now the height, I need to change as well. So it's 14.49. So if I just move this up slightly, you can see as I'm doing it, the increments on that ruler there are changing. So if I do it so it gets to about just over 13.5, 13.64 will be fine, because I know I've got a little bit of overlap there to play with. Now when we bring our butterflies in, I want to tone it up with that previous project. So if I actually grab, let's have a look, I'm going to copy this one and bring it into here. So we've moved from our first page to page number 2 here, and I've got this in really as a reference because I still want to tailor these butterflies to the same sort of colour scheme as what we started with, because again we're making that full gift set, a full complete collection. So in our effects, I'm going to go to, let's have a look at the hue first and see if we can get what we want. So I'm probably best doing that by bringing them literally side by side. So in the hue, I'm going to go straight through. Let's have a look, see where we start to get. We're going through really nice shades of pink. This is starting to look really nice. If we bring the brightness up, there we go, we can see instantly it started to tone. If we was just to revert that process in the undo function, so let's go back to where we started, we can see what results we'd get if we were to rainbow it. So again, through there, and then we start to rainbow. It's much more of a deep, but that actually really works quite well with this here. But if I was to bring the brightness of that up, I quite like that. I think that works really nicely, especially with that floral here across the top. It's almost an exact match. So now I'm just going to delete off that image and stick with this butterfly. Now I'm placing it over this black background, but I'm just going to continue to copy and paste a few of these out, duplicating this butterfly quite a few times. I think I'm going to want around about 8 of them. But I'm going to bring a couple out for now to get me started. So then I'm going to start to use the circular icon to rotate them, tailor some down. I'm going to have some overhanging the rectangle. I'm going to have one in the centre. Let's scale that one right down as well. Bring this one down into this corner. Let's have the wing overhanging there. And then let's bring this one, make this one much smaller. Sit that one in the centre here. So we're almost making like a full piece of panelled fabric or a surface pattern section. I'm going to paste another one, so let's bring that in. Again, crop that down, maybe make it slightly smaller so we've then got that difference. Let's paste again and have a really teeny tiny one in the middle here. And then we'll paste again, and I think we want one facing maybe that way. And again, scale that down a little bit. Move that one across, those two don't look almost identical. There we go. So I'm quite happy with how that's turned out so far. So some of these, I'm thinking I might actually make more of a blue tone. There we are, quite like that. Again, I'm going to do it with this one. And you can see we can still change the ones that we've already started with. Look at that, I absolutely love the colour. I think I'm going to take that, make that more blue. Let's do this one down here. Again, bring in that rainbow slider to make it blue. And I quite like those just like that, I think. The 3 of those look lovely. Now what I can do is select each one of these, and using that scissors tool or the lasso knife we can crop away, but I'm going to use the lasso knife for this one and go straight across, which will allow me to actually drag. Oops. I'm going to use my, what would I use? My scissors, sorry, not my lasso knife. Getting mixed up. I'm using my scissors and actually crop all the way across like that. So it gives me a really nice straight edge. So I'm going to anchor it here and go all the way around like that, quite obscure, but then I know that that butterfly is cropped really nice and neatly to the edge. So then I would go around with doing this process on every single one. Again, using the scissors just to trim this down. There we are, like this. Anchor it again, go around the edges like that, and then meet it again in the middle and take that away. Now, once you've cropped all of those butterflies from that edge, we can then go into that black background and delete it because we no longer need it. Now, if I take you to my desk, what I'm going to do is clear the decks a little bit, and we're going to go to that butterfly page that we have just made. Okay, so you can see there, looking at that image, where we've... Oh, bear with me just 1 second while I get this set up. And I'm just getting my craft desk ready so that we can actually start gluing. So do bear with me just 1 moment while the screen eventually changes for us. And as well, do let me know if there's any of the comments or anything like that, or messages afterwards, or drop us an email, what you've made with this project, or drop me a message on Facebook or on Highlight Crafts. I would love to see what you've done with it. It would look fabulous. But I believe we are back now. So hi everyone, sorry about that technical glitch that we had there. Andrew was working very hard for that one. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to take you straight over the top of this one here, and I'm actually going to begin by just doing a scalpel line. And again, scalpel with rice paper is really dreamy to use. Be very careful. This is a brand new knife, so it's super sharp, but even the bluntest of knives will go through rice paper really well. So you can see it just tears it away so well. Now with this, I'm actually going to mark, then you can see that where the edges of my rice paper are, just to double check again, on my 20.5, I can then choose where to place. So 20.5 here, I'm going to scroll right down this side. There we go. Trim that away. And then again, I'm going to do it just around this side. So we made sure our design fit perfectly, and then we're just going to literally trim it down. And also, we've made it so it's not a seamless pattern, it's not a repeat, purposefully, because we're only covering the object that we've decided to make. So again, going down there, and then this one I'm going to slice just across the bottom. There we go. Wonderful. So now I have my piece of rice paper ready to go. Now, I want to share with you the process of decoupaging onto candles and the best techniques and the ways to do it, because there's many different ways. I see a lot of people doing it, but this is one, for me, I find that you get the best results with, and also it's the most therapeutic way to actually use it. So, here I have my candle. You can see I've got the cup of tea on standby today, because why not? I always have a cup of tea while I'm crafting every single time. So I'm going to grab my rice paper and just double check it here around the edge, and we can see as we match it around, it fits perfectly. It means that those butterflies will no longer overlap. So I'm going to take some stencil spray from Cadence, lay this back onto that mat that we just decoupaged on, my little messy mat, and I'm just going to grab my stencil spray here and put a really small amount onto the back. Okay, you really don't need a lot for this. And then instantly I can pick up that rice paper on my hands. It's stuck to me, but it's not super tacky to the point where it's really frustrating and going to make a mess. Then I'm just going to start anywhere at all with that rice paper and loop it round. There we go. And I've chosen to use a white candle for this because it's going to seamlessly just melt into the background. Then let's grab some greaseproof paper. And for our greaseproof paper, again, something really inexpensive, most commonly found in the kitchen drawer. My partner will be wondering where ours has gone. I'm guessing probably not going to be needing it today though. But I'm going to just trim that down. And I'm going to then, it doesn't matter where you start, I'm going to actually grip it. But I'm actually going to place it face down in there. And then at the back of here, you want to sort of grab it with your hand. Now, if you do have dexterity issues, you don't have to do this. You can actually wrap a piece of string around it, or put a band around it, something like that, or tape it in place and move it step by step. But I'm going to hold it with my hands and literally, sorry, it's quite rustly, because I'm going to grip it quite tight like this. And you can see the shine from the greaseproof paper. I'm gripping it that tight. And then I'm going to take my heat gun. I'm just going to move that pot because that was in the road for the wire there. That would have been interesting. Oh, the glue still went. So I'm going to just stand that back up. I'm going to grip it with my left hand and use my heat gun here, just work into the areas of my desk. Now I'm going to apply the heat, let it heat up first. I want to let it get to temperature, and then take it over to where the butterflies are. And now you'll hopefully start to see, as the wax actually starts to melt, it will seep through the surface of that rice paper. So it's coming through here and it instantly makes the rice paper feel and look much darker. So I'm going all the way around the surface. Now this heat gun has 2 settings on. I can make it super hot, which will melt it much, much quicker. But I'm only going to go around this side here first to get us started. Here we go. And then work around to this side. Here we go. Slow it down a little bit. And I just want to then start to see how it's going. Okay, we're going to have a little look. It's nice and warm, but I can touch it. So instantly, this is a great example here to share with you. I don't know if you can see that, but where the wax has started to melt, we've almost got that disappearing pool. So can you see that just there? You've got almost a halo. It's almost invisible, but just around here, you can slightly see it. Now that instantly looks like it's to the surface. Now because we know that that's started to cling, I can go around on top of here, and you just want to make sure you're constantly moving it, so I can see it starting to spread. And what will happen is the wax soaks into that rice paper and it absorbs it all beautifully. And that pool that I shared with you just moments ago is now spreading. But with the rice paper that we've got, it's such a good quality paper that it holds the wax really, really well. So it's spreading all around this surface. Now, as we get to the top of the candle, you can then melt it from the top, and then what I tend to do is then just quickly pinch it in with my thumb, like this, if you've got any overlap at all. Just hold it close, pinch it together, and it all starts to mould onto one another really, really well, really, really easily. And I absolutely love doing this. It's one of my most favourite ever techniques within craft, especially with rice paper, because it's one that they instantly always look store-bought. You can tell it's got that handmade element to it, but it's very professional. So I'm going to go all the way around the edge of this candle, and it'll probably take me around about 5 minutes to do the whole thing. So I'm going to do like the main focal part of it, which is where we started round here. Okay, just making sure to seal all of that in. And you probably can't see it quite as well on the camera, but I can see it travelling, and the wax just soaks into all of that beautiful paper. Here we go. So I'm going to turn that off, because I imagine everyone was probably getting tired of hearing that heat gun then. But look at that. How beautiful is this? And when the wax comes to the surface like it has along this front where we're focused on, it's really hard to depict. It's almost impossible to see where the rice paper starts and where the design finishes. So that there is the second part of our project. Now that this is dried, what I'm going to quickly do with this here is I'm going to flip it over. I'm just going to take some twine and some wet glue. Let's have a look if I've got some in my bag. I do here. So I'm going to take a strip of this and trim it down. Let's have a look. That length there should be absolutely adequate. And then I'm going to trim. Let's have a look. What have I got? I'm actually grabbing a little bit of scrap paper out of my bin here. It's a little bit of offcut. What I'm going to do is just trim a little section like that. We don't need the rest of that now. And this is going to hold our string in place. There we go. And then I'm going to take just 2 squares. There we go, perfect. And I'm going to add some glue dots with my pin flare book binding. I'm going to add a small mound of glue here and a small mound just there. Now I'm then going to take my little squares that we started with just then and add a little bit of adhesive just around this edge. And then we're going to take this one and glue it down. There we go. And this one here, again, around that edge. I have got that stencil spray on my mat, that's funny. There we go, peeled it away. And then I'm going to take that little bit of twine and sandwich that one down. Now we can move on to our next little project, because we printed and we cut those decoupage sheets that we started with. So I'm going to set these two just to one side, and you can see how the whole kit is starting to come together. Now with our plant pot, I've got those beautiful florals here, and what I'm going to do is decoupage these. Because we've cut them out from that design, you can see that these beautiful flowers are going to tie in really well. So I'm actually going to mask the top of my pot here. So I'm going to use that paper again, that bit of tape that we started with that I saved. I'm just going to mask a little section going all the way around the top of this plant pot. Okay, let's get some more tape from here, a little bit of washi tape. And I've let my white hybrid acrylic cure for 24 hours on this plant pot, so I'm quite confident about placing the tape over the top of it. If you were doing it in a process where it meant that you wanted to layer it on, I would heat set it with a heat gun, and that will give you a much sped up process. So then I'm just going to go around here. There we go. Take that away, match that up. So then what I'm going to do, I've gone a little bit obscure then with my line. Let me just make that a little bit higher. Want to meet up quite nicely with the other side. And this is going to give us a really nice fine line. And I know a lot of people like to stipple and maybe do more of a blend, but I think this is going to work really well. Now when I'm looking at the colours that come with this collection, of course, that came within that beautiful Colour My World bundle, I wanted to pick something that will tone well. I'm really liking this colour here, so I'm going to choose this one to work with. So I'm going to pop my rice papers to the side just for a moment and use that baby pink, which is H024. And then I'm going to grab one of my paint brushes, and I'm just going to go into that little pot, and you'll see just how much you can actually get out of one of those little tiny pots because you get actually so much paint in them. So then I'm just going to go around the top of this plant pot here, and look at the coverage that I'm getting on there. It's instant. But I'm going round the top, just where the actual rim of the pot is. I'm not going to go inside the pot because we don't need to. I think I might even have a little plant around here somewhere that I can put in it at the end. Let's have a look. So I'm going to go around the top of here, and I'm just literally wishy-washing the paint really, really nicely, which means that I'm not forcing it near that tape, which you wouldn't want to do anyway. But this means I get absolutely no brush strokes at all in the paint. It will dry completely level to the surface. Now the brush, I'm just going to pop that straight in water because we don't need a second coat at all. And then I'm just going to blast that with my heat gun. But before, I'm going to peel the tape off. Now the reason why I'm peeling the tape off before I dry it is that with your hybrids, it will dry like a skin. Okay, so it will coat the surface and cling onto anything it's looking at. So if we were to dry that paint whilst that tape's still there and peel the tape away, before the paint is cured, it could come away with the tape. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to let it just quickly set on here, which will only take about 20 seconds. So just going around the edge of here, and what you're doing here is you're not curing the paint, you're evaporating the water from the actual paint, which is allowing it to dry. But then again, to make this washable, it will want 21 days to air cure. So I'm going to go around the top with that pot. There we go. So now I can instantly see that our paint is now dry. I mean, you can hear that. It's dry for us. So I'm going to grab some of my rice papers that we started with, and on the reverse of these, so actually on the back of them, I'm going to begin to apply some napkin glue. I'm going to make a small mound of glue just here, and I'm going to go in with quite a fine brush in comparison to one I've just used. Now in this, I don't know if I've got water in here. Probably worth testing first. So I'm just going to check I've got no paint left in there. No, I don't. This brush is nice and clean. So I'm taking my small flat brush for this project, just because I've got a smaller surface area to cover, and it will mean I can actually get into the design quite intricately. So I'm going to go into that napkin glue first and actually apply it to the back of the print. So where our rice paper is, working straight again on the reverse, working from the centre outwards. You want to make sure you've got no blobs of glue, no lumps of it, because of course you'll then want to have to smooth that out underneath. And you can see how the image is almost like completely come straight through that paper. So I'm going to pick up our design here, there we go, and pop it straight onto our plant pot. Look at how vibrant that is. And then when you're gluing this down, with the glue, work inwards. So before we worked outwards, we're working inwards, capturing all of that, but you don't want to push all of your rice paper to the edge, because you eventually, if you were to do that, when we're printing at home, you don't want to agitate the inks more than they need to be. You want to allow them to set first. So this glue is going to bring that paper in, and we're not agitating anything at all. And then around the bottom, we can just lap that round the paper. And then I'm just going to grab my second design here and do the same process again. Glue on the reverse, like this, all around. You don't need a great amount either, because of course it's only lightweight paper, and it will adhere to the surface with minimal adhesive. And then I'm going to bring this one round this side, quite like it overlapping a little bit onto that colour. And again, work all over that rice paper, all the designs. Now you could cover the entire pot. I'm just going to pop these two little bits on the front because I think that's quite enough for this. I think it looks really nice like that. So look at that, how gorgeous is that? So I'm just going to blast this with the heat gun, just around the edges to seal that in for us. And I love watching it come to life when you're using just one file, one element to make an entire project. So now that that's started to set, I'm Let's pop it to one side because now we have our third project pretty much created with this. So we've got our plaque, our candle, our pot, and then to finish off, because I know we've not got a great amount of time left, but I want to show you the final project. I'm going to set this to one side because it's a little bit tacky at the moment. And I'm going to fetch in my caddy that I introduced you to at the beginning of this. So you can see I've painted it white using that white hybrid acrylic again. And then with that design that we very first started with, I cropped into it even further. So I've actually made stripes from it. So if I bring, let's have a look, share with you the image. Here we are. This here is the full design that I printed out onto that rice paper, duplicated it. So if I just show it you here, you can see that design, how vibrant and the pop of colour that's in there. And I wanted to take it across the entire side of this caddy. So when you're looking at this, I instantly saw the striped here and thought, I want that again, but larger. So I cropped into that and blew it up using that same process on Minecraft Studio to make an actual panelled section of rice paper. So we can use this in the project as well. So I'm going to go straight over to our design here, and I can see that my project is slightly bigger than paper, which is fine, because I'm going to tear into it anyway. So I'm going to start by tearing down the edge. So I'm just going to do one side here. So I'm going to tear into that rice paper, and we'll start to just obscurely tear it, it doesn't matter at all. Going round the side, just like this. And then I'm going to do the same process on the other side here. There we go, just nipping into that paper. And you'll find that rice paper tears differently with regarding of what product you apply to the paper. So I'm going to cover the entire design in glue first. I'm going to use a slightly larger brush, I think, to do this. So we can cover this, in fact that one should be fine. I'm going to use that Cadence napkin glue. I'm going to pop it straight onto the wood for this, in some blobs, and then start to spread that around all over the wood. Now I always tend to apply adhesive to the surface of the project, like this for example, when it's slightly larger, because sometimes when you've put glue onto a full piece of rice paper and tried to move it, I've learned through experience that sometimes there's more area for, should I say mistake? Don't tend to like to use that word, but it is a possibility that sometimes you might either drop it or you'll get it caught on something else when you're trying to maneuver it. It just means that you've got far more chance of actually getting what you want out of the project. And also, sometimes it's quite a good tip to maybe apply a bit of glue to like one half here, put the paper down and start lifting it up and spreading the glue underneath the paper as you lay it down. But I've put it all around the design here. Then I'm going to take our paper straight up to the project. There we go. So you can see where I tore it away from the edges, means I can now just blend that in. There we go. All the way around this edge. Then I'm just going over the surface of the paper, and the glue will actually soak through the design. And I've left that white border on here because I quite like that nice crisp finish. And it also means I don't have to sand at the bottom, so we're actually making it easier for ourselves. So right up to that edge here, I'm just going to rub with my finger and then get that sandpaper and brush it away from me. Here we are. So quite gentle, just around those edges, pushing it all the way. There we go. Around here, and it will start to just naturally come away from the edge. So crisp, so clean. And then what I'm going to do is just blast with my heat gun across the surface here. So I'm going to this side, just drying that off, and I'm going to go onto this side as well. And I want to just make sure the edges are dry because I'm going to add a little bit of paint to here, just to sort of try and blend this in a little bit, just to even that little spread section out. There we go. Just going around that edge, making sure it's nice and dry. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that white here, so from our tub, a little bit of the white. Now I'm going to grab, let's have a look what tools I've got in here with me. Oh, I've got this little sponge stick, this will come in use. I'm going to take a little bit of the white and just blend it out onto my mat here. And I'm going to start to just pounce it onto the surface. Now I'd probably want to dry my paper for a little bit longer, but this will be absolutely fine. I'm going to go into the corner, and I'm actually working into the paper and brushing out, because I don't want to encourage peeling back that paper before it's dried. But look at that, it's just starting to really soften that edge. And a tip for this is, as you're doing it, is to dry it. So now I've just put that little bit on. I will then go back into there and just quickly dry it off. So we're not actually then going to start to mix up that paint. So that's our first layer down, there we go. And again, I pick up a little bit more. And because the paint I've used is that antique white paint, It's meant that it's not too stark, and it's not, you know, going to completely bleach out our design. It's really nicely just fading into the top. So again, on the other side here, I'm going to do the same process, and I'm just brushing into the paper, or should I say brushing away from the paper. But a sponge like this is really, really helpful. And I know a lot of people say, you know, you can't blame your tools. It's, you know, about the work you do. I agree with that, but I also find that working with the best tools for the job is going to give you the best results. And I think a sponge like this is going to give you the best results. Now, if I go down towards the bottom, we can tie in a little bit of that fading out and also bring it towards the top here. So the paint is just skimming over the surface of that paper, and it's just softening all of those edges for us. So you can see I've then got a bit of a circular motion going on, wanting to blend it out. What I'm going to do now is just quickly blast that again with our heat gun. And it dries so quickly. When you're almost dry brushing with acrylic, it really, really makes the process have such a fast drying time, which is great, of course, because we can add more layers, but we can also move on with our next step, you know, get more of it even done. I'm going to add even more paint, I think, just to these edges. And when you get to the edge, you can really start to add some depth in, and it makes it look like this is just completely washed into the background. And it might be quite nice to add a little bit to knock back the colour of some of these bits of the paper to make that sort of shabby chic whitewashed wood effect really come into its own across some of the more vibrant areas of the design. You can see here where I'm working into those really strong pops of colour. So like that, look how beautiful it is. It's just fading away. And you don't want to scuff up too much of the paper and eat away at the design, because some of my glue isn't quite set there. So I'm just again going to blast it with my heat gun over the top. There we go. Making sure it's nice and crisp. Tiny little bit more paint. And I'm literally using the tiniest amount of acrylic. Now, before I then get quite brave and work into the center of my design, I'm literally, same again, brushing it off first and then working into that paper. And this is a process that I think you'll find that you're going to absolutely love, because look at that result that you get with this. We started out with that really vibrant paper with the colours that we wanted, but we've knocked it right back. I'm just going to eat into a little bit more here, I think. And then you could go around with a deeper shade, like a brown, to like echo that and really make it, you know, quite authentic. I've actually got the dark brown here. So if I was to dip into this one and use the tiniest amount, I'm literally going to work from the lid. So then blend that in. What I'm then going to do is work from the edge. There we go. And start to just bring that deeper tone, take a little bit more of the paint off into the design here. So it allowed us to fade our paper away, but now we've introduced that deeper colour, which is just tying all of this together, bringing back that wooden look, but making it look so authentic and original. So spread the colour across the edges, really sort of bring it all in together. And this is a little bit of paint technique, but as well rice paper technique. Now, if any of the paint's heavier before it's dry, you can just wipe it away. Or of course, go back over with the white, build it up, build those layers in, but be confident with it. You know, don't let the project take control. Be in control of the paint and the process. And you can see there, it just looks really, really nice. I'm actually bringing a little bit more of the white there, just to actually fade and knock back, because we don't want it too dark. But again, you can then see how it all works together so well, and you get that perfect blend. So that's the front facing of this caddy here. I've then got the sides that I could do as well. I'm just going to quickly add, let's have a look. I'm just going to quickly, just one side so you can see how it would look, and then that's that bit done. I'm just going to grab a brush here. I'm going to grab one of my flat brushes, and I'm going to go over with that napkin glue again. But I hope you've really enjoyed this project, because it's something that I've thoroughly enjoyed preparing for and sharing with you as well. But it shows that you can use this USB, not just in the really sort of vibrant contemporary ways that I showed you during the show, but also as a great giftable for you know, great for Mother's Day. Springtime, this is a brilliant collection. But again, when you've got those blue tones of the marbling techniques, great for just within your home. I'm going to pop this round on here. There we go. Match that up to our edges. And then I'm going to go around all over the top, again using that same process to seal all of it in. Then I'm just going to grab my sanding block from here. I've not even dried this off, so I am doing this quite quickly, but it's possible. So again, round those edges, and then the rice paper just comes away so naturally. It's almost like it was meant to be. There we go. And you'll notice that you get little strands of feathered rice paper. They will just blend away, or you can continue to sand those back. It really is up to you. So I'm just going to take this edge off around here. There we go. Fabulous. And then where the handle is, if you add a heat gun to it, now this is an interesting area because of course we've got open space here. Now if I take a heat gun to it, it will actually make it tighten. The paper will feel almost like a drum. But I'm going to just quickly put some tension on here, and you'd want this to be crisp dry for this project, so it may or may not work what I'm about to do, but it should do. But I would probably dry it for a little bit longer than that. Is take my scalpel straight through here, and actually, there we go, look, just like that. Pierce it round, like that, and it will just take it straight out. So you can see how two sides can be decorated using the same products, same papers to give you this look. So let's dress it all together. Let's finish this off and put all of the items that we created in one space together. So I've got my leftover bits of paper here. These little strands I don't need. And then let's build it. So I'm just going to pop the lid back on that paint before I get the darkest shade of paint all over me. So we've got our little caddy that we made together using our design, our one paper that we started with. We've got our little candle to go in our caddy here as well. We've got our plant pot that we made. I'm going to set this on something to make it slightly higher so you can see it. There we go. And then we've got our little heart plaque as well that we can pop in here to make a full gift set. So you can see that we've made an entire kit here, but how cute would it be? I don't think I've got a little plant I could pop in here. Use this as an example. I'm tearing Andrew's set apart now. But look at that, so you can see that this entire little set is something that you can make, and then you could put some little chocolates in here. Maybe a little plant could go in here, or a little bunch of flowers. But there's something in here to display around the home. There's something to use, there's something to store with, and there's something that's going to last forever. It's one of those collections where you can make something really inclusive for absolutely everybody. But that to me is one way you can make a gift set. But look at the finish that you're getting with something like this. We worked with that one paper that we started with. This entire project has come from this design, and it wasn't even that colour to start with, it was purple. If you remember, we changed the colour of it to suit the taste of whoever you're making this for. But this is how you can create something. Now, I've absolutely loved making this. I'm actually going to finish the other side of this off tonight and save it for Mother's Day. And I will share a picture on social media as well of it in situ, of where it ends up. So thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining. Do watch out, because we've got plenty of videos coming up on lots of education on cadence, especially with our academy as well, and lots of techniques that we can be sharing with the paints and much more from Highlight Crafts. So thank you ever so much. Have a fabulous day and do take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Then click the bell icon to receive notifications for all our new content.